Altcoins are slightly in the red today for the first day in quite a while. Even Ethereum is having a small dip today, but we're seeing a little bit of a Bitcoin resurgence on the chart as well. Despite dominance dropping, in this video, I'm going to go over which altcoins I think have great entries today on this dip and why I do not think this is going to be a major bull market pullback. I actually just think it is a small correction in the bigger picture. So I'm going to go over all of my top picks in this video, as well as coins that I think off the strength of Solana as well, I think could be really good opportunities in that ecosystem. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Before we dive into it, guys, as always, if you are enjoying the content here on the channel, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel for more every single weekday here on In the Game. We have you covered across all of the hottest niches and all of the alpha you need in this market to make sure you win in this bull run. As well, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. We have some incredible sponsors top to bottom, from Blowfin, Nexus, as well as Everreach Labs, and of course, 𝗙𝗲𝗙𝗃. If you're not already trading on Nexus, guys, I would highly recommend to check it out down below. This is a platform that actually we've built in-house. It has some of the industry lowest fees as far as trading. You can trade spot, you can trade leverage, stocks, forex, gold, as well as over 200 pairs in crypto, up to 40x to 100x leverage in the traditional markets. I'd highly recommend checking it out. No KYC, decentralized, you custody your own funds, instant deposits and withdrawals. So I'll leave a link down below in the description for Nexus. And also, this could give you allocation into the upcoming HyperLiquid airdrop round 2, which I think could be one of the biggest in the history of crypto, considering the price point on HyperLiquid. So let's go ahead and dive right into it, guys. Today we are seeing a little bit of what is typical in a bull market. There are some times where there's just small pullbacks, and whenever you read the title today or the thumbnail and it says buy the dip, you might even be wondering what dip. Well, there is a dip going on in most altcoins. If you just see that daily chart on the left side here, really the only things in the green today in the top majors are Bitcoin, Solana, and TON. And there's a reason actually for all of these, as well as Pudgy, which we'll talk about in just a second. So right now we're seeing a little bit of Solana strength, but we are seeing Bitcoin also bounce back because the dominance was falling, and it still is falling. Bitcoin is down on dominance about 5% over the course of the week, which has left a lot of room for altcoins, especially as far as Ethereum goes. So in this video, I'm going to go over, do I think that Ethereum season resumes quickly, as well as Solana ecosystem coins that I would really be isolating on, as Solana is really picking up momentum here. And then, of course, DCAs amidst this red day. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And I just want to, the adoption is not stopping. So if you're thinking this is going to be a halt on the bull market, if you think this is going to be a massive correction, I think there's too much money coming in for that to happen at this stage of the market. We see MicroStrategy, their balance sheet, in all of the companies in the US, they are now number 9 of balance sheet balances in the US as far as major companies. They're 50% of the way to Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. Their only avenue to this is Bitcoin, which is insane, the adoption that we've seen this cycle. They're also coming out with a new monthly dividend stock, which is a perpetual stretch preferred stock with a $500 million IPO. I would definitely assume they are just going to go straight to the market and buy Bitcoin with these funds. And then also we see PNC Bank offering Coinbase crypto trading and custody for PNC clients, as well as banking services for Coinbase clients. So look, all of this is happening quicker than we could even anticipate. Every single day, it's either JP Morgan or Citibank or PNC Bank or a new company forms. Buying Athena yesterday, stablecoin something, public company out here buying altcoins like Athena. We've seen Hype Treasuries. We've seen SUI Treasuries. We obviously are seeing major ETH Treasuries here with Sharplink Gaming, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But for me, this dip that we just saw today throughout a little bit of altcoins, I saw some takes that this is it, this is over, local top, we're going to have an August dip. And look, we might trade sideways across Bitcoin, and that wouldn't surprise me. But also, I just don't think there's much of a dip to be had during this stage of the market. I think right now the amount of money coming in, a little bit of retail interest coming back into this market, as well as the way the cycle's playing out, the Bitcoin cycle into Ethereum. And now some of that money's trickle into Solana, as well as we've seen BNB all-time highs. Obviously, we saw XRP absolutely ripping. I saw comments in the video, how can you not talk about XRP? Because I'm not an XRP army person, okay? I just don't really care about XRP. So if I'm hurting some feelings with that, I'm absolutely sorry. So let's go ahead and just dive into the market and what I'm looking at in each of these sectors. And I do want to remind people of the bigger goal here. So I know everyone, and I tweeted this and it got great traction, and I do think the message is pretty clear here. We talk about on this channel, if you eventually own one Bitcoin, I think you will be a 1%er because of the fact of how scarce the asset class is and how much money's coming into it, how much of a gold rush we're going through when it comes to Bitcoin. And I tweeted, everyone has their own goals, right? Do you want to 5x your net worth, 10x your crypto portfolio, pay off your cars, pay off your house, help your mother, or pay your parents' mortgage or something like that. Retire your bloodline, as the crypto pun is. Everyone talks about retiring your bloodline, but everyone should have one goal, I think, this cycle. And that's to finish the cycle and at least allocate enough capital into one full Bitcoin, and then also be able to see the long-term vision on that. I do think over the coming years, we're going to see $250K, $500K, even eventually $1 million per coin on Bitcoin. So whatever you're doing, whether you're in the trenches, trading meme coins, doing DeFi, whatever the case is, I would have a tangible strategy to get yourself at least one Bitcoin, because one Bitcoin eventually will not be as accessible as it is today. So that is my first message on this. Regardless of what happens this cycle, you should have a goal to get as much Bitcoin at the end of it as possible, while also taking enough out for lifestyle, the things above, pay your car, pay your house, whatever the case is, whatever means most to your family or yourself. That should be the number one goal. But also the goal should be to at least try to get close to that one Bitcoin mark. And I think that'll set you up substantially for the upcoming years of adoption on Bitcoin. But now let's get into the juicy stuff. I know, we could talk about Bitcoin all day, but you guys are here for altcoins. And what we're going to do, I'm going to go over, do I think Ethereum bounces back quickly? And then we're going to move into picks underneath different ecosystems. And yes, to me, I don't think Ethereum season is necessarily over. I think we're going to still see Ethereum rise and probably hit all-time highs over the coming months, if not even quicker than that, just coming months as a longer term, bigger picture type of play. But right now it is bouncing back. We actually saw it down to like 3,500 this morning, back up in the 3,700 ranges, only down 1.6%. But what we're seeing off of this is Solana absolutely picking up momentum. And the reason I don't think Ethereum season is over is just the demand coming through here. We see 80,000 ETH now holding 360,000 from Sharplink Gaming. And if you're a stock market investor, I love SBET. I think SBET's going to keep climbing. So that's one thing in the Ethereum landscape that I think if you don't want to go buy traditional ETH, which I understand, it's $3,000 a coin, whereas you can go buy SBET and it's just, $20, $30 of stock. So I would absolutely recommend, if you want broader exposure similar to MicroStrategy, to go check out Sharplink Gaming in the stock market. But today, and of this last week, it has turned into a little bit of Solana season, which is ironic because Pump Fund launched and a lot of people thought this could be detrimental to the ecosystem, when in reality, it has actually turned Solana up a notch. We've seen Bonk.Fund, Bonk's token launcher, doing very well on fee generation. And of course, if we just look at the chart here, over the last year, we're in a hotter market than we were as far as January. But this was, Solana's peak of whenever it comes to the meme coin casino, etc. So we're still looking at about 35% off of all-time highs. So Solana trade could be very good here. But looking into Solana ecosystem coins, as these different ecosystems heat up, there's going to be times where it's SUI season, HyperLiquid season, Avalanche season, Cardano season, etc. We just saw XRP play out. We're seeing Ethereum play out at this point in time. So you want to look at ecosystem plays underneath this. Our number one, since the bottom really, has been Pengu. I think this is the absolute best Solana coin in the market, and we're still 25% off all-time highs. We just look at the all chart here. This thing started, let's actually go to the year chart. It might be a little more accurate here, about 5 cents. So we are nearing that level, but we still got 25% more to go. I do think if you're sidelined on this coin at this point in time, it could be a good time to maybe line up some sort of a leverage long, but do not overexpose yourself. Like, that's a trade I hardly recommend. But if you're sidelined and you've missed this 400% move this month, Pengu's just been going absolutely crazy. I'm very surprised at how quickly it's recovered. But the thing is the Pudgy Penguins collection is going up in price so rapidly. So at this point, if you're sidelined on a spot bag, I do think a small leverage long could do very well whenever it comes to something like Pengu. Moving on down the ladder in the AI niche, Render and Solana have always had a pretty close relationship. That's another one I'm watching and is a big position in my portfolio. But more so, I'd be looking at, Jupiter LP, and I'd also be looking at Radium. If you're just in the Solana ecosystem, that is what's going to be getting the most attention at this point in time. And of course, Bonk's just up 200% on the month, whereas I think also just Pudgy is stronger. Like the community, the movement, the floor price on the NFTs, etc. So I'd be looking at Solana ecosystem coins number one as far as what could move directly this week off the backs of this Solana pump. A lot of money, a lot of people seeing profits on their Sol bags could rotate down into smaller plays, and some of those smaller plays on the Sol ecosystem as well. Stuff like Limbo, Calvin, X1E, Energy. These are small meme coins that have been getting a lot of capital. So there is a lot of stuff to look at. If you want, low risk coins, I'd be looking at stuff, like I said, like Pengu, Bonk, Render, as well as potentially if you roll down to the gaming niche, actually, we can go look at coins like Star Atlas DAO. This has actually been ripping over the course of this month, but they do have Star Atlas Summer booting up here actually in just a couple days. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of Star Atlas Summer. So if you want a gaming play on Solana, I'd be looking at Polis. If you want a AI play on Solana, I'd be looking at Render. And then going down the ladder, the exchange and revenue plays. Stuff like Pengu, Bonk, as well as Radium, Jupiter. I think those are all fantastic trades as far as right now, as Solana is catching a ton of liquidity. Moving on down the ladder here. First of all, if you're wondering today also why TON is one of the coins in the green. So we're seeing the few in the green are Solana, Bitcoin, TON, Tau, and then really it just gets Solana ecosystem with Bonk, Pengu, etc. We've actually seen today where Telegram's wallet went live to its 87 million US users, which has caused a little bit of pump in that TON price as well. So we're seeing strength there, but for me, that's a trade I'm going to pass on. I just don't like the broader ecosystem plays underneath TON. I think TON's a great hold, but there's just not much to trickle that money into. And I'm just not a big fan of the coins underneath the TON ecosystem. But moving on down the ladder is obviously DeFi. And look, I know I talk about it a lot, but what is happening right now on BlackHole, it can't be ignored. Over 40,000 in rewards just went up for grabs last night in the super black pool on this epoch on the BlackHole DEX. They also just integrated with a platform that's going to be able to auto rebalance your liquidity positions, which is big for people who want a little more hands-off management. And if you don't think DeFi is the niche right now, well, we see Doug Hype here making $170 an hour on AVAX LPs, okay? We're not talking about in a day. We're not talking about in a week. We're talking about in an hour. Made over 500 on Project X on HyperLiquid passively. It is DeFi season. So if you want a place and you maybe don't want to go buy a bunch of tokens, maybe you just want to allocate your money and see it grow. BlackHole, Project X, as well as just traditional DeFi plays. And I've noticed just the attention and the amount that you guys have enjoyed these types of plays. So as these come up and there's new opportunities, I'll absolutely make sure to give you guys those plays, give you those strategies in the DeFi space. I'm not really going to dive too deep into it. Obviously, the DCA here for me today, also in the DeFi niche, would be BlackHole and KEDA, KTA. I do think KTA is very undervalued. And actually, it took like yesterday, this coin, when we recorded, was actually sitting on a pump at 95 cents. So it is like a 15% pullback over the course of the day, a 13% pullback over the course of the day. So if you are bullish on KEDA, I do think this is a great entry point. Considering the strength it just saw literally yesterday, you can now get it 13% off that price. I do like that price at 80 cents, and anything in those 70-cent ranges as well, I really like. But most importantly for me, I'm still DCAing BlackHole. I think we see $250 million market cap in the coming weeks, and especially if AVAX can continue its ascension in price, still sitting at $25, I think that BlackHole becomes the #1 premier altcoin play underneath AVAX. And I mean that. This right here, I don't know what can compete with this. Like, obviously there's ket, which is the biggest meme coin on the chain, but otherwise you're looking at like Trader Joe, which is aggregated to a bunch of different chains now. You're looking at stuff like Lambo, which has really fell off as far as conviction. For me, BlackHole and Arena probably hold the top dog spot as far as utility plays, but I do just think the social pull that BlackHole has, I think this will become the #1 overall altcoin on Avalanche this cycle. You can quote that, you can clip that. That is my prediction here as far as future price appreciation on the BlackHole token. And of course, I want to talk about gaming. Now, right now is not the time to be trading gaming coins. We're seeing coins just go under day by day. Tokyo Beast, this one went live 2 months ago as far as public game launch as well as token. People were loving this game. They just did a token raise. They raised a ton of money. Their game was #1 on different countries' app stores. And today they announced that they're terminating their service on August 24th. And this is why I have shifted my attention so far away from investing in individual games. Like, I'm still comfortable putting my money into ecosystems like Beam, Prime, Ronin, IMX, etc. Like the main chain style plays with multiple games, ecosystem type of infrastructure plays in the gaming space. Much safer. You're betting on an overall chain and an ecosystem, and more so like a launcher of games and a catalog of products. Whereas when you're investing in individual games, the risk is just so high over the course of the last year. Really, the only ones that I've remained conviction in as individuals would be off the grid. I still think that the gun token will have a big resurgence when gaming does pick up. I love Wilderworld. They just teased their first-person shooter launch, as well as they're doing Operation Titan, which is going to include wild buybacks, as well as ecosystem-wide alignment. I love projects that make revenue. And Wilderworld does. They have their battle pass, etc. They have been doing very well on the back end over the course of time. So they're going to begin ecosystem buybacks. And that's also why I have a lot of conviction in WAGMI games. Like, they are about to turn on the turnkey for revenue. And once they're making that revenue, they're putting a bunch of that money back into the chart, similar to HyperLiquid, similar to what BlackHole is going to be doing, similar to what Pump Funds said they're going to do. But Pump Funds token's looking a little rough. But for me, that's what I want. If I'm going to invest in an individual game, for example, a Wilderworld, a WAGMI games, etc., I want them to inject the chart. I want them to make it whole with their ecosystem. Like, there's so much decay in these gaming coins that it just doesn't make sense to hold them. But with teams that are aligned to make sure that their community wins alongside them as they're making revenue, that's the whole Web3 ethos, right? If you're not going to give out a ton of rewards in your game, for example, at least support the chart. And I think that is what I'm looking for as far as individual games at this point in the market. But if I'm going to really have to take a stab and go DCA, I think Prime at 260 is so cheap. I do think Ronin right now is pretty cheap, although their ecosystem has been a little rocky over the course of the last few weeks. I like Aether a lot, and I like Beam a lot. And those are very aligned plays. When Beam runs, Aether's going to run. Aether's doing like $145 million in revenue over the course of the year. That's absolutely insane for a product that's really just 1 year old at this point in time. So that's what I'd be looking at in the gaming niche, but it's definitely at the bottom of the barrel as far as what I'm focused on. There's so much more opportunity in major alts, in trading, swing trading some of these coins, as well as yields in DeFi. Like, there's a lot of opportunity regardless of a market dip here. I want to know your thoughts. What coins are you DCAing? What are you most focused on right now? Because there's a lot of people focused on DeFi. Are you in the trenches? Are you leverage trading? Because I'm spending a lot of my time in the DeFi space and also just swing trading these narratives. I want to get in. I want to ride these things up, take ample profits, and be able to move into the next narrative, or just have that liquid capital to buy on days like today, where we're seeing $44 HyperLiquid, under $4 𝗬𝗎. We still see, stuff like BitTenzer in the mid 400s, whereas I think that's going to go to $1,000 easily this cycle. We see Caspa on a dip after having a really hot week. This would be a DCA for me, absolutely, today. So I think these are the opportunity days, and you can't switch your bias that quickly. I've seen a lot of people get wrecked trying to say, oh, this is the time to go short. Boom. You get nuked out of those shorts and we rip higher. In a bull market, you want to be bullish. You want to ride the trend. Going against the trend is not your friend. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but in this market, I don't think we're going to see a broader major crash or a big correction here. I think it's just par for the course to see a little bit of a lull on certain coins and a little bit of a healthy pullback. But it does look like money is resurging. Bitcoin's up at 119,000 as of closing out this video. So let me know what y'all are focused on in crypto. What are you really looking at as far as DCAs? What ecosystems are you focused on? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and like this video. It helps us get in front of a lot more gaming, AI, DeFi bulls just like yourself. And I will see you guys on the next one. As always, play well, my friends. Stay bullish as always.